All right, councillors, if everybody's ready, I'll welcome you all and declare the meeting open at 4:33. I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners of land we meet on today. I humbly pay my respects to the people of the Wiradjuri and Ngunnawal nations, their past, present and emerging elders. If you're, I beg your pardon? Oh, well, my apologies.
Welcome to country.
And this was acknowledgement. Housekeeping. If you are asked to evacuate, the emergency procedure is to exit via the door leading out of the building directly outside the council chambers and proceed to the footpath opposite the council chambers and await further instructions. Live streaming, recording and publishing of council meetings. This council meeting is being streamed live, recorded and published in accordance with council's live streaming in council meetings policy. To those present, there's nobody in the gallery. The chair pardon me, I think I'll read the next one. Anyone who is invited to speak will be recorded and their voice, image and comments will form part of the live stream and recording. The chair and or the general manager have the discretion and authority at any time to direct the termination or interruption of live streaming. Such direction will only be given in exceptional circumstances where deemed relevant. Circumstances may include instances where the content of debate is considered misleading, defamatory, or potentially inappropriate to be published. Attendees are advised that they may be subject to legal action if their actions result in inappropriate and or unacceptable behaviour and or comments. We don't have a public forum. The statement of ethical obligations. Councillors are reminded that they will undertake the duties of the office of councillors in the best interests of the people of Hilltops local government area and the Hilltops Council, and that they will faithfully and impartially carry out the functions, powers, authorities and discretions vested in them under the Local Government Act 1993 or any other act to the best of their ability and judgment, as per their oath or affirmation of office made under Section 233A of the Local Government Act 1993. Apologies. I have one apology or application for leave from Councillor Flannery. Mr. General Manager, have you had any?
I've had no other advice. Move that way.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Ingram. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Dodd. Those in favour? Carried. No disclosures of interest. Okay. We're into
Madam Mayor,
yes.
I may have a disclosure of interest later on in the meeting.
Okay, thank you. This is in confidential. No. Okay. All right. We don't have any confidential matters, so we'll move on to the item, and that's the General Manager's report. Hold on. Yep. Preparation of the 2022-2023 financial statements and EOM 2314 and the recommendation. Thank you, Councillor Armstrong. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Fitzgerald. Okay. Any questions? Councillor Armstrong.
Madam Mayor, we're taking questions in regards to the gentleman. Are you taking questions or the CFO?
Or is the CFO going to speak to us first?
The CFO is here online, so either or.
Look, I guess the bottom line is the result is the result. There are lots of questions in regards to the individual line items in there that's probably what we wouldn't get answers to tonight anyway, because they require further and better details. I have one question in regard to, of all things, the stormwater levy. I note that it's actually referred to as a special rate income. in the statements. I'm just wondering why is that referred to as a special rate, given that council hasn't adopted a special rate. It's listed in the schedule of fees and charges and revenue policy as a charge. To be a special rate, it must meet the criteria of an ad valorem component, which it doesn't. It's a flat $25 charge. Can I just get some advice as to why it's reported that manner? I do know that in previous years it's been reported the same way, but I don't really understand whether it's just a matter that's been carried on simply because it's been previously done that way. I haven't read the accounting standard in that regard, so if I get some advice on that, please.
Mayor, to the
Councillor Armstrong, can I just ask which page you're referring to on the statements?
Mr. Smith, it's on page 15 of 87 or page 23. It's the note B2-1, rates and annual charges.
Page 15,
identified as a special rate, stormwater levy. And the question
I think your second comment is probably...
So it's been acknowledged that it's been previously recorded there.
Yeah.
I don't know the answer to that.
I'll need to...
That, but I'll certainly take that on notice when the accounts are brought back to the auditor. Can you hear me, Mr. Smith?
Yeah, can you hear me? What's happened?
You nearly think the CFO could be in the room for the presentation of financials.
Unfortunately, he's detained and under the appropriate section of the code.
Can you hear me?
By digital means.
Sorry,
Smith,
can you hear me?
Hear me?
I can hear you.
Cannot hear you.
You can't hear me? Oh, okay.
Just apologies, everyone. We have technical difficulties.
Can you hear me now?
We cannot hear you, Norm.
Okay, I'm not sure why not. Yeah, I just got Deidre's message. I don't understand. I'm turned on. I can hear you well.
You're now on mute. You're now unmuted.
I know I'm unmuted. Can you hear me though?
We cannot hear you.
Yeah, I'm not sure why. This is annoying.
General Manager, for technical difficulties.
I do apologise. We did test this before.
We're
going to take that on notice.
Reply to that, please.
Yep. Thank
I'm
you.
happy to move on, but I must ask for a written reply to that question. Thank you.
Thank you.
Don't understand why.
Can you now speak, Mr. Smith?
Can you hear me now?
Oh, we can. We're just going to get volume on now.
Oh, okay. All right. I'm not quite sure why that was happening. Everything looked right in my head.
Can you hold it for the moment, Mr. Smith? We're just trying to increase the volume. All right. Can you talk now?
Yeah. Hello.
Oh, we can now hear you perfectly. Before we take that, prepare a written reply to Councillor Armstrong. Can you cast light on the special rates nomination for stormwater levy, or we take that on notice?
Yeah, no, I'll take that on notice. I believe that's been in previous statements as well. It's off a template.
Okay, thank you. All right.
So I'll take that, provide a written response.
All right, we'll now move on. Apologies, councillors.
CFO, would you like to present your report to council?
Certainly, Madam Mayor. Yes, I can. Yeah. So on the summary income statement, you'll see that the consolidated result for 22-23 is a deficit of $5,091,000. And this is obviously a big turnaround from last year where we had a consolidated surplus of 1.6 million. In highlighting, if I go through the income, rates and charges was increase of 912,000. User charges mostly through RMS work increased by 3.5 million. Contrary to that, we then had significant increases in employee benefits and costs of 3.7 million. There were payments out of long service leave and annual leave. Superannuation increased by 312,000. Workers' comp insurance was up 263,000. Another impacting factor was that the capitalisation of our wages for 22-23 was only 1.8 million. In 21-22, that was 3,035,000. And that was prevalent from the natural disasters and the weather storm conditions that we had, particularly between July and December 22, which I did highlight in previous council meetings and the QBR, that we were not going to hit target that we'd previously experienced in previous years. Might just jump before I go to further costs. That was also a factor on our material costs where, in fact, usually the salaries is about 25-30% of capital costs. And in fact, our capital costs of materials was also down by 4.4 million in 22-23. So that's those things together are a major hit. Material and services costs increased by 6.1 million in 22-23. That's pretty well an issue, obviously globally and around the country. Everybody would have experienced those sorts of things. Our depreciation was up 1.867 million in 22-23, and the balance of our insurance costs, other than workers' comp, also went up $122,000. So we're experiencing quite a lot of increase in costs right across the board. At the same time, our unrestricted cash increased from 56,000 to 3.26 million. And whilst our receivables position decreased, which was very pleasing, there is a lot of work being done right now. And I had another meeting with the team, which I mentioned previous meeting, about sale of land and also a number of debtors who are struggling and not meeting their payment arrangements. And so that will be another report that I'll bring to council. Payables increased by 1.1, but we accrued those costs, and that was because we, unlike previous years, we cut the payables and the general ledger off early in July, getting closer to commercial practices. A couple of things to note: increase in provisions of some $20 million, and you'll note that the bottom line was there was a debit of about $2 million. This was due to the fact that I engaged a accredited valuer for an assessment of our tips and quarries, and that has raised some serious issues that we will need to have a look at in the coming year, and that I know that hasn't been done for some time. The reason that I did that is because we had a lot of challenges last year with audit, where audit were not satisfied in the main with those costs. And whilst they don't appear in the 23 accounts, we also have done a full valuation of our buildings through Marsh in order to get a decent assessment. And again, that also created a number of negative issues last year dealing with the audit office. So that information is now at hand and is being dealt with the contract auditor EY through the audit office. So they have all that latest information, which, again, first time that's been done in some years. So our unrestricted cash balance was 3.319 million. and I anticipate that we're going to get a reduction in our debtors, which will turn into cash. And I'm hoping that I can get between 1 and 1.5 million before the end of the financial year as we pursue a lot of debts. And we, as I say, went through the team with that this morning, so that we have a lot of work to do in that space. And if there's any questions, I'm happy to take them.
Thank you, CFO. Councillor Ingram.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm just wondering if CFO could enlighten us on the projected deficit of the general fund at the last QBR, given that I note that just in the last week from our last meeting we've had, it increased by 9% in 1 week to 801,487. Can we just have the figure of what the deficit was when you produced our last quarterly budget review?
Yes, Councillor Ingram. Well, there's no change to the total numbers. At the briefing,
the projected deficit that you gave council in the last quarterly budget review.
Oh, in the last quarterly review.
March 2023.
I'd have to open that document up.
In relation
I
to
know that.
Sorry, no, Mr. Smith. I do recall. Believe the projection was $6.7 million loss in the quarterly budget review in March, which was the projection for the 22-23 year from my recent round of presentations. That was in the general fund, just while you check that figure. But that figure did not include the remediation figure, which has been included, which did take us.
That is correct. That is correct.
Very negative. The figures changed between the quarterly budget review figure and the figure now.
There is. It's a big change.
Yeah. Well, that's the close to 2 million remediation provision provision. It's now, as we've noted, it's held within borrowing costs, but that is a $2 million movement for the remediation. That's correct, Mr. CFO?
That is correct. It's about 2.1 million, and that is the remediation cost that's been brought to account. All the tips and queries.
That's well and good. It's just the general fund deficit, as opposed to the consolidated deficit, it increased significantly. Between now and the end of the next financial year, I would suggest that council and everyone needs to look at a number of efficiencies that we have to bring into practice, given a workshop we're having after this meeting and one we had last week in regard to increasing costs on everyone. This is destined for deep trouble if we keep running these deficits at this level, especially when they just keep blowing out. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor.
Madam Mayor, just some questions on page 24 of the report.
Yes, Councillor Armstrong.
I note there that we've got some, this is on the income side of things. We've got a 20K drop in our inspection services. Can I just get some idea of what those inspection services are? And if there's any insight as to why there'd be a 20K drop on those?
Through you, Madam Mayor, our Director of Planning is now coming to the podium.
Through you, Madam Mayor, that drop is largely attributed to resourcing, that we had a substantial number of vacancies in the compliance space, and we've had to allocate our resources to where the highest priorities are. So we see that be bounced back now that we have a full staffing complement.
Can the Director advise what sort of inspections were not done?
So through you, Madam Mayor, so where we chose to prioritise was on high risk food premises, and the area that we chose to put less resource in was the low risk one. So that's where the revenue was lost.
What are the low risk ones?
The low risk.
Can you just give us some examples of low risk inspections?
Yes. So So low risk are ones where it'd be like a community provider, or where there isn't a lot of contact with with the customer. And I'll take that notice to get back to you in more detail, because I don't know that in detail.
It'd be nice to know what wasn't done. Inspection services in the main, for the benefit of everyone here, of course, is that are generally mandated. There's something that we have to do. So if we're not doing them, then we can probably see a drop in income because we aren't doing them, but perhaps that does expose us to risk at the other end of the table. Come down to the fees and charges, others. I just noticed in there, that list there's no mention of sale yards fees anywhere. Can I assume that there was no income generated from sale yards, or that with such a small amount it could be lumped into other?
From memory.
Yeah.
Sorry, Mr. CFA, if you have a better, I can't recall.
No, I was going to just to say, General Manager, that I'd need to investigate that just to check the detail across each of the sale yards. I believe there is income being received, but I need to get further detail in relation. You're talking about the other there in fees and charges?
Well, in past years, we've seen sale yards income shown separately. This year, we don't see it there. I'm just wondering whether there has been any, and if it is lumped into other, can we get a list of what makes up the other, please?
Yeah, I can do that. Yeah.
On the next page, page 25, I noticed there's no income from insurance claim recoveries. Have we had no insurance claims, or we just haven't done very well in recovering any money from the claims that we've had?
Yeah, I don't believe that we've actually received any insurance claim recoveries in this financial year.
And we've had claims and none have been paid. Is that what you're saying?
Sorry?
None have been paid. In this financial year, I do recall one of the large ones was in relation to the bridge that got washed out twice, and we believe we received some money back in this financial year in relation to the
in 23-24. I think that's what you're referring to.
The Bundabo Bridge, which was washed out.
Yeah.
Put in a claim, but we've received the money this year in the 23.
No plan.
Nothing I can recall that we made a claim on, but I'll leave that. We'll take that on notice.
Okay, so we've made insurance claims. It's just the insurance.
The large insurance claim that I can talk to was the large one, which was the bridge. That's the one I'm aware of. Smaller ones, I'll pass to the CFO to give you better information.
Yeah, no, I'll have to. I don't believe that. I don't recall any being received, but I'll double check to make sure there's none outstanding that we've not recovered.
Okay, thank you. I look forward to that. On page 31, I note that there's a $72,000 decrease in income from room and facility hire. I'm just wondering if is that one facility, or is it across the board for all of them? And is there some speculation as to why we'd suffer a greater than 10% decrease in the utilisation? The revenue, and obviously what would appear to be the utilisation of those facilities.
I'm not able to answer that question, Councillor Armstrong. I'd have to actually investigate that to actually determine, just pulling the page up, to determine where that loss is. I just want to just double check it myself in the statements where you're referring to it.
You're referring to note B26, other income, where the other lease income, room facility hire, dropped from 681,000 to 609,000.
Yeah, I'm just pulling it up. Sorry. I'm just down on the C's.
B26.
Yeah. I'd need to investigate that. We're talking about issues around rent and so forth, are we? Income recovery from building.
It's a greater than 10% reduction in income recovery, and that's that concerns me, especially when we're tight on cash. The next page, page 32, I note that there's a $200,000 increase in training costs. Is that $200,000 increase? Is that attributable to Tech One?
Sorry, Councillor, just let me get that up, Councillor Armstrong, sorry.
No, B31, page
B
20. No, B31 or 24 of 87 or 32 of the report.
Yeah, I've just got the report up, so I'm just going through the pages in the document. So B31, yeah, whereabouts are we? Which cost?
Increase from 191,000 to 391,000.
I do know that's other than salaries and wages too. So
yeah,
so it's a
yeah, there has been. You're referring to training costs. There has been an increase in training costs. Yeah.
Those that $200,000 increase, is it attributable to Tech One training?
I don't believe. I don't believe. I believe it's
No.
more focused on ensuring that all of our staff have the appropriate tickets that they require. I know there's been a push to ensure that everyone.
I do acknowledge this is an area that falls within the purview of the general manager.
Well, that's
I don't
right.
wish to be involved in operational matters, but it's what a $200,000 increase. I guess is something that that makes me anyway have a little bit of a look and ask the question.
Certainly, we can break that down further.
Because I do note, I do note below in the work health and safety expenses. Congratulations, there's been a $36,000 decrease. Expenses there, so great work.
I think. No, look, there's been a lot of training that's been provided. If you look at the Friday Flash, there's extensive training that's been provided across plant machinery, etc., including areas such as mental health training coming out of COVID. So but there is no Technology One training costs in there incurred today. Okay,
in the other section, I noted an increase of $234,000. Can I get some details what makes up other in there?
Yeah, I'll do that when I do the other one in relation to fees and charges as well. Yeah.
Substantial increase in there. On the next page, I noticed that there's congratulations are in order. I'm quite certain other councillors have noticed this too. But in IT support services, there's a $340,000 saving. So
in IT, yeah.
Can I just get some advice? We have been previously advised that going to a new telephone system was going to generate some savings. Did it generate 340K in savings? If that's a lot of two bobs.
Yeah, no, I'll have to actually go through the ledger and actually do a comparison between the two for you to be able to extract that information out.
That'd be great to be aware of what would save $350,000 in one.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
On a bit further down the page, we've got water acquisition costs and water purchase. Is the water acquisition cost the water access charge that's paid to Golden Fields?
I believe so, yes.
Wonderful, thank you. I thought it might have been.
Yeah.
Is there any reason why we don't call it what it is instead of calling it something that it's not?
Look, yeah, we can do that. It's a lot of these things are historical. They come off that template that from LP that's used, but I imagine we can change the description.
I think that's a free form in that particular cell. So if we got it wrong in the past, doesn't mean to say that we need to keep getting it wrong in the future.
Oh, it's just a description in this case, but look, yeah, some of the descriptions in here that are.
It's not a water acquisition cost at all.
Yeah. Yeah, no, yeah.
Because whether we buy any water or not, we still pay that $1 million out.
That's right, yeah.
Wonderful. Let's move through here. That's sorry. In terms of the general fund, we're moving on to the other funds later on, or we? I'm happy to.
I'd ask you to actually continue to move through because I think
because if
the recommendation is
if someone else has got questions on general fund, then I'd encourage them to ask them of the questions that relate to the other funds now. So,
just one question.
Yes,
Councillor Armstrong, you went.
Councillor Ingram.
Sorry, Madam Mayor. On page 25, we talk about those B23 right at the top, it's got fines, parking. I note in 2022, there was 0, and in 2023, there was 1. So that either means everyone's been very, very good, or have we just completely stopped having visits from the people who used to come and make sure that there's say shop owners sitting beside me or other people park in the street all day and block the parking. So don't we have that happen anymore?
We have not engaged
Why not?
other.
I'll ask the question, please, Mr. General Manager.
I can't answer that question, Councillor. We just have not engaged someone to do that work.
So it's just a free-for-all parking in the towns now?
We have not had someone checking against the signs. No.
Okay, thank you. Councillor
Madam Mayor, I might just comment on that from somebody in the business community that has also been raised, but it was felt with the hardships at the cost of living currently that we wouldn't address it.
Maybe through the same way when we talk about SRVs.
Well, possibly, but that it was raised, and that was one of the reasons, because I did raise it just to clarify it.
Thank you, Councillor
Just
Foreman.
a question in regard to that.
Councillor Armstrong.
Does council not employ rangers anymore?
We do. A significant time of the rangers is actually, dealing with dog issues. The vast majority of time is dealing with dog issues. Other activities there. I know we've had a recent complaint about waste that they've had to investigate, and we have engaged another compliance officer. So, Director.
Yep. So through you, Madam Mayor, we are aware that we haven't been as diligent in the parking control space as we would like, and we know that it's having an impact on businesses. So we are training our rangers so that they are up and able to be able to issue enforcement notices and the like. But that is a process that takes some time to get their accreditation, and it's very much the thing that they're working on is they're absolutely the thing that to develop the capability to do that. Yeah.
Thank you, Director. Any other questions before Councillor Armstrong you wish to
I've got a question in regards to the income statement for water supply. That's all.
Okay. Well, if there aren't any more questions, we'll move on to that.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I did know that's on page 99. I note congratulations on this, because materials and services in the water fund is bucking the trend quite substantially, given the 17.5% increase in the cost of building materials and the dramatic increase in our materials and services in the general fund and sewer fund. I note that there is an $800,000, a 33% reduction in the cost of materials and services for the water fund. How did you achieve that, Mr. General Manager? That warrants a real pat on the back, and maybe there's a lesson that we can learn in there through the water fund that we might be able to apply to perhaps the general fund that's increased by $10 million over the budget estimate.
Through you, Madam Mayor, I need to take that on notice. Obviously, for materials to decrease, it may not be just an increase in the cost. It may not be. It may actually attribute to the amount of build activity happening in that space. However, I will take that on notice.
Thank you. Can I get a written response to that one too, please?
Absolutely.
All right. If there are no more questions, I will put it to the vote. Those in favour?
Councillor Foreman, Councillor Fitzgerald, Councillor Mackie, Councillor Rolls, Councillor Hewson, Councillor Armstrong, Councillor Piper, Councillor Dodd.
Those against?
Those against, Councillor Ingram.
The motion is carried. Thank you, councillors. Yeah. I thought you had something else. That was the only business for this extraordinary meeting. So thank you, councillors, for your attendance and for your cooperation. And I will close the meeting at 5:08. Thank you.